The Opinionated Hippie, and today, right now, I'm going to discuss Roger Waters' latest solo album, I guess, The Dark Side of the Moon Redux. I have already elsewhere on this channel ranked and reviewed his solo albums based on my favorite. So since I had already done that, I thought I would add this to that mix and just right off the bat say that if I were to rank this among his other solo albums, it would be last. So it doesn't matter where I rank those other ones because this one is last. I want to be really generous to this, and like Roger Waters can do what he wants to do. He's an artist. He has the right to do whatever he wants to do, right? I wish he hadn't done this, is all I have to say. It is The Dark Side of the Moon, same exact songs, same exact sequencing. Those Speak or the first two tracks, Speak to Me and Breathe, have been separately indexed. I think they were one track earlier. Other than that, it's the exact same album. It is sort of his like current reinterpretation of it, or not even a reinterpretation. It's him adding to the ideas for like looking back now, decades later, 50 years later. And anywhere there's a guitar solo or a saxophone solo or something musically interesting happening, like maybe a really cool psych jam with weird keyboards or whatever, he has removed that and replaced it with spoken word parts. Roger Waters spoken word parts, and which are usually delivered in this very up close to the mic, just really crisp, clear Roger Waters voice. He is all over this thing. Sort of his current thoughts, or I guess, I don't know, whatever he's doing. But I have lots of thoughts on whether or not this should exist. I don't think it should. If it had existed, if Roger Waters felt he had absolutely needed to sort of update this for whatever reason, I felt like it should have been like a bonus disc or should have been part of like a box set. Like a couple years ago, he released the Lockdown Sessions recorded during COVID, kind of updating some of his songs. In one case, Comfortably Numb, Confusingly So. Worked in a live context, I thought, didn't work on that. But maybe a box set where you have the Lockdown Sessions, you have a live like Radio Chaos show, that was a good tour, or a live like Pros and Cons and Hitchhiker show. That'd be neat to have something like that. And then maybe this, where it's a bunch of weird stuff together. Maybe that makes sense. But here, I don't know. In a way, it's like, let's rob all the joy and fun and anything that's musically up and down from the album. Let's just take that out. So we have what is essentially this like really somber, almost chill wave version of Dark Side of the Moon with like Roger Waters speaking anytime there'd normally be like an instrumental passage. And as boring as it just, I'm not intrigued by it. His poetry, his writing, whatever he's saying in between, there are some interesting moments, but the overall impact, I'd rather listen to Dark Side of the Moon. And I think my main problem with it, when it comes right down to like the single core thing that is wrong with the entire concept, and it pops up dramatically on Great Gig in the Sky, where Great Gig in the Sky starts off not with awesome singing, but with him like doing his spoken word narration thing. And it starts off with him reading a letter he has received from a fan, I'm assuming, or maybe a friend, or I don't know, but it says, "Dear Mr. Waters." And I think that is my fundamental problem with this entire album, is the Dark Side of the Moon, I think, is the Dark Side of the Moon because it kind of like is this band putting life forward on a concept album, right? And me as a listener, or you as a listener, or anybody in the world as a listener, is taking their own experiences in life and like injecting it into Dark Side of the Moon. And so as you get this journey through life, like different parts of the song resonate with you at different points in your life. And it does a great job of doing that. But here, Roger Waters makes it really clear that this is not everyone's Dark Side of the Moon. This is his Dark Side of the Moon. And he's injecting himself into this. And once you reach that point where he says in The Great Gig of the Sky, "Dear Mr. Waters," like everything after that, I'm just like, it's just his story and it's him. And maybe it's interesting if it's like Ray Davies did that thing 15, 20 years ago where he did that sort of storyteller tour. He played a bunch of old Kinks songs and new songs and he told stories over. But then maybe this works in a live setting and like Roger Waters does some sort of live storytelling thing. I don't think it works on album, at least not the album I want to listen to. Like, I almost wish the only way I think this works for me, like, the spoken word stuff doesn't work for me. And maybe if he had taken the spoken word stuff out and gone even chiller and not had any sort of musical peaks, it might be enjoyable in a weird way, but I don't like it. And I do think it's just ego. It's just like the dark side of the ego. Redux is that's pretty much what it boils down to. And I like his solo albums. I like his indulgent stuff. He has some sort of like lyrics and some spoken word delivery and the way he ends songs with like piling on lyrics that are really effective on other albums, that he just, like, his energy level is just so reserved and low key the whole time. Starts off kind of strong. When Speak starts, he recites the lyrics to Free For, which is kind of cool. And then Breathe starts, and then he continues the lyrics to Free For before we go into Breathe. But as soon as we go into Breathe, like once we actually musically go into Breathe, sonically it sounds great. There's an acoustic guitar that has a dark edge to it, and just musically, the beginning of Breathe really, really works. But from there on out, Waters kind of dominates everything with this spoken word. When we get to the actual lyrics of Breathe and the lyrics of any of the songs, his delivery is just so laid back and not trying to sing as much as like just speaking most of the lyrics. The lyrics, just none of them are as good as on any of the songs on the album. So Breathe starts off well. We get the Free For, but then it just kind of goes downhill from there. On the Run is like on the casual stroll. It's just, there's nothing exciting about it. The drop in time when we get the taken away, it's like ticking away. It just, there's no drop. It's so anticlimactic. The Great Gig is when we get the reference to water. Money is just so lethargic. There's some little interesting musical parts that kind of happen as we get to the solo section, but Waters immediately talks over them or they immediately go away, so they don't last. Any Color You Like is no color, apparently. There's not any colors at all. It is completely like this. Every once in a while you get some interesting bass parts, but very little. And there's this moment at the end of Any Color You Like where he's talking over the whole thing and he starts to list colors. And he says like red and blue, and then he says rainbow. Yeah, rainbow. And it feels like a really cheap Marvel cinema moment where like we're watching, say, an new superhero movie, and all of a sudden Spider-Man, because it's got to be Spider-Man, right? Isn't he the guy who makes the most like cameos? Spider-Man's in it for like 20 seconds, and the audience is like, yeah, Spider-Man. Him going rainbow, yeah, rainbow, I just feel like it's meant for a live crowd, and they're all like, rainbow, it's like the cover of the album, woo! And it's just, it feels cheap, it feels tawdry, it feels completely, I don't know, it feels beneath Roger Waters. Don't like it. And then we get Brain Damage and Eclipse, which the best part of it, mainly because it kind of sounds like the original. Maybe that's why I like this the best. But I can't. It's too slow, too lack of energy. I'm not in with the spoken word passages. I wish I liked it. I'm jealous of those people out there who do like it, because, hey, who doesn't want to like more music? But I wouldn't recommend you get it unless, don't buy it, but if you have a chance to listen to it for free, do so, just so you know how head-scratchingly bizarre this is. Yeah, I don't know. I would rank it as by far my least favorite of all Roger Waters solo albums. So anyways, yeah, thank you for watching. That's all I got. I wish I could praise it, but I really, really can't, Roger. I really, really can't. Sorry, buddy. Peace. Talk to you later.